Who's this Deku, and why do all the pros want to adopt him? By 80sGayTrashGoblin. Chapter 23. Results. Izuku was nibbling on a macaron, listening to Tinya and Shoto describe their experiences with the normal entrance exam. He knew the story already, having watched the tapes, but it was much more thrilling to hear the tale from their perspectives. Iida was a surprisingly good storyteller. Himself, Mei, Tinya, Shoto, Inasa, Honenuki, and Pony were all at Yaomomo's mansion, sitting in one of the living rooms while they waited. No one except for Izuku knew the results, so they were all waiting at Yaomomo's, with macarons that were going to be either celebratory or pity, depending on the results.
Drum roll, please.
Kayama entered the room, holding up a bunch of envelopes. Inasa, Honenuki, and Mei all started a drum roll, and Izuku could even see Shoto joining in. Envelopes were passed out, and the three most enthusiastic kids had a rock-paper-scissors match to determine who was opening theirs first. Mei won, so she tore open her envelope, only for a disc to fall out. The hologram flickered on to reveal Power Loader.
Hello, Hatsume Mei. On the written exam, you got a 98%, and on the practical, you got 40 out of 40 points, making you the top applicant in the engineering track. You have earned your place in Class 1H at UA's support course. Welcome to your support academia. Plus Ultra!
Poor guy needs a coffee, Izuku muttered as everyone else cheered for Mei.
Alright, I got second. I'm going now,
Honenuki said, dumping out his envelope impatiently. Everyone waited with bated breath as it turned on. An hour later and the results were in. Inasa, Yaomomo, and Honenuki were all accepted through the recommendation program. Honenuki was placed in 1B while Inasa and Yaomomo were placed in 1A. Pony was placed into 1B through the foreign exchange program, since she and her older sister Cow Lady were still American citizens. Through the normal entrance exam, Tinya and Shoto got into 1A.
Alright, you can't put it off any longer,
Mei said.
Open it.
Everyone else in the circle, including Kayama, started chanting, "Open it! Open it!" Izuku laughed, his cheeks bright red as he dumped the disc out, joining the other 7 on the table. Instead of Power Loader, Nezu popped onto the hologram.
Hello, Midoriya Izuku. It is a pleasure to announce that you have passed the entrance exam with flying colors. You achieved 100% on the written exam, the highest score of every applicant this year. In addition, you passed the practical exam with flying colors. Your presentation was the best I have seen submitted in the history of the analysis track, earning your place in Class 1H. And don't worry, we did not actually send your presentation to Endeavor's agency. A little adrenaline is just the perfect way to start a morning. Speaking of which, I am delighted to inform you that due to your unique education and experiences, several of the normal Gen Ed classes you would take will instead be replaced by personal lessons with me, in addition to the normal lessons analysis track students would get. I'm excited to finally get to be your teacher. Welcome to your support academia. Plus Ultra!
The hologram disappeared, and several jaws were dropped.
Broccoli-chan, please do not take over the world,
Kayama said. Izuku smiled.
No promises.
Mustafa's Central Broadcasting at MCB Official. Following the expose released by the anonymous analyst Deku, the Hero Public Safety Commission has turned over many of its staff, including the Vice President. Read the full article here. Now Masa stood in the lobby of Mustafa General Hospital, waiting for Mirai to arrive. He had his recording device under his coat turned on already, as well as a travel thermos of coffee, which was necessary for going anywhere. The information provided by Nezu was invaluable. Not only could there be proven cases of quirk discrimination, but there was medical fraud, financial fraud, post-mortem neglect, leaking of medical information, and obstruction of justice. Besides, they had testimony from Midoriya, several nurses, and a doctor, so this case was closed. It was just a matter of arresting the hospital director, so that a new one could overhaul the staff. As much as Aizawa and Takumi wanted to be there to take down the director who had caused Midoriya so much pain, they were both teachers at UA, so they had to stay at the school. However, Mirai was available and very willing, so here he was, waiting for the man. Finally, Mirai came in, wearing something that could be described as business casual, if you squinted really hard. Choice and undercover outfit aside, Mirai wasn't wearing his hero costume, which was the important thing.
Are you ready?
Now Masa asked, sipping his coffee. Mirai nodded and they both stepped up to the secretary.
Excuse me, but can you tell us where the director's office is?
Hitoshi sat down at the kitchen table, staring at the envelopes in front of him. Envelopes, plural, because 2 had come from UA. The second was written and dated literally 3 hours after the first. His current foster mother was stress cleaning the kitchen. His younger foster sister had dragged a chair next to him and was excitedly slapping her palms on the table.
Ni-chan, you must be really special to get 2 letters,
she said.
Open 'em! Open 'em!
Alright, I will.
Hitoshi dragged over the oldest letter first, opening it up and feeling his heart sink.
Unfortunately, you did not place high enough to make it into our heroics. You did place high enough to earn a spot in UA's Gen Ed course.
His mom frowned from her step stool, where she was dusting off the cabinets.
That's still at UA. There's probably a system to transfer courses.
Himari slammed her hands on the table again.
There's still the second letter. You're right, sweetie,
his mom said.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Ignoring his sister repeatedly telling him to open it, Hitoshi opened up the second envelope. Instead of a letter, a disc clattered onto the table. They both jumped and clung to each other as a hologram was emitted from the disc.
I am here as a projection,
All Might boomed from the fucking hologram.
Shinso Hitoshi. On the written exam, you got 92%, but you did not get any points during the practical exam. However, points were not our only metric for your success.
The hologram played clips of the entrance exam, where Hitoshi had pushed other examinees out of the way or helped them out of rubble.
We also had rescue points. For your incredible actions of bravery, you got 25 points, earning your place in Class 1A at UA's Heroics course. Welcome to your Hero Academia. Plus Ultra!
The hologram sputtered out. When Hitoshi pulled out the other papers in the envelope, he saw they were various forms, such as a costume form and safety waivers.
You did it, Ni-chan!
Himari shouted, immediately grabbing onto his side. Hitoshi hugged her back, silently clinging on as his sister kept babbling. His foster mother sat down at the table again, a manila envelope in her hands.
I'm so proud of you, Hitoshi,
she said.
I want to talk to you about something.
Of course, Mama,
he said, setting Himari back down in her seat. She still clung to him, though, tiny claws digging into his hoodie.
What is it?
Do you remember the conversation we had when we first took you in?
Of course he did. Hitoshi had been bouncing from foster home to foster home, each giving him back either because of his quirk or because he didn't act like they thought he should. Then, his social worker brought him to an apartment on the outskirts of downtown Mustafu, where he met his new foster mother and sister. They both had cat quirks, with the younger one also having some sort of light manipulation ability. Himari asked if he was going to be her new brother, and insisted on him playing with her, but his foster mother had a private conversation with him first. In complete defiance of every expectation meeting a new foster mother was supposed to be like, she sat him down and told him the truth. She introduced herself as Dodotaru Aoneko, although he was free to call her whatever he liked. She had explained that her second job had gone under, and while her first job had given her a raise, it was not enough to cover the cost of living for both herself and Himari. So she decided to foster an older kid, who would be able to watch Himari so that she could pick up more shifts and have the foster money to raise all three of them. She explained that he'd be enrolled in an online school while Himari is at a physical school, and that he was not required to pick up a job or anything like that. All she expected of him was to make sure Himari was alright, and do a couple of chores here and there. While the relationship started off as Hitoshi being a glorified babysitter, they slowly got closer. Himari loved her big brother, and Hitoshi loved her in return. And over time, Hitoshi started seeing his foster mother as a mother, and with a couple of more raises, she stopped having to pick up extra shifts. So, when Hitoshi came back home after picking Himari up from school, she would be home to cook dinner for them. In addition to the online school, Hitoshi picked up some free self-defense classes at the local YMCA, as well as using the gym while his foster mother was at work. And when he explained to her that he wanted to be a hero, she supported him 100%. When Hitoshi nodded, his foster mother continued from across the table.
Part of the reason we took you in was because of the money that fostering you provided us. Thankfully, UA has generous scholarship programs, so we no longer need to depend on that money, which means we can finally sign these.
His eyes widened as she slid over the folder, opening it to reveal adoption papers.
I know that Himari has seen you as her brother since you stepped foot in this apartment. It only took me a little bit to see you as my son. I've held on to these papers ever since you came into our lives, and I'm so glad that I can finally officially call you my son.
Mama.
It finally broke Hitoshi, tears running down his face. His mom came over to him, wrapping both him and his sister into a hug.
I love you so much, Hitoshi, and I'm so proud of you.
Alright. One sec, y'all. Gonna take a drink real quick. Chapter 24, Orientation. How fun. Friends group chat, 7 a.m. Broccoli-chan, Sonic the Hedgehog, Hot Pocket, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Sandman, Mrs. Darcy, Annie Oak, and Typhon are all online. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Have a wonderful first day, everyone.
Typhon.
Yes! Have excellent days!
Mrs. Darcy.
Stay safe, everyone.
Broccoli-chan.
It's the first day. How much trouble can we get in?
Mr. Sandman.
Are you serious right now? You're joking, right?
Sonic the Hedgehog. I think my eyes are burning. Hot Pocket. This is coming from the boy who has a raccoon army and gives multiple pros heart attacks. Broccoli-chan.
I'm not that bad.
Mr. Sandman.
Yes, you are.
Hot Pocket. Yes, you are. Annie Oak.
Yes.
Dr. Jekyll.
Yes, you are.
Mrs. Darcy.
Yes, you are.
Broccoli-chan, shocked face. Izuku crawled through the vents, getting a lay of the land before it was actually time for class. He has a great sense of direction, creating a map in his mind of UA's vent system, and where everything connects. He was there early because Keigo teaches there, so he got all the small talk with the teachers out of his system before he bailed and started exploring instead. He'd been to the school before, but it was still surreal to be in a UA uniform, with a backpack full of school supplies and his laptop. He was actually a student. He belonged there. He even had time to set up his own little nest in one of the bigger areas of the vents. He got a text from May and dropped out of one of the vents, scaring Yamada-san half to death. He scrambled out of the classroom, ignoring Yamada muttering, "I thought it was a bug," and sprinted to the start of the support corridor.
Broccoli-chan!
May shouted, tackling Izuku in a hug. She figured out early on in their friendship that he likes physical contact, so she takes the chance to hug him and invade his personal space whenever possible.
Hi, May.
He returned the hug, giving her a few pats before wiggling his way out. He was aware that she was very strong, and if she really wanted to keep him there would be no escaping. He grabbed her arm, dragging her through the halls to Class 1H.
I'm so excited.
May babbled.
I'm going to make so many babies.
He laughed, more than used to the baby talk by now. I'll pass on all my analysis to you so you can make all the hero students gare. You wouldn't leave me alone if I didn't.
Of course not.
May grinned.
You have so many good ideas for babies. You can't hold out on me.
I wouldn't want to. Izuku returned the grin. As he opened the door to 1H, May pulled him into a side hug.
We'll be a baby-making machine.
Majima-sensei sputtered, dropping the thankfully plastic mug of coffee in his hands. His teacher sighed, putting his hands on his face, and said,
I need a raise.
Pony was sitting at one of the desks in the classroom labeled 1B. She was slowly sifting through the books she was given. She was slowly getting better at Japanese, and her friends were helping her learn. Since she was living on the campus Since she was living in the on-campus dorms for international students, She got to be there super early. Izuku had popped in for a bit, literally from the ceiling, to say hi, but quickly continued exploring, leaving her to practice her Japanese.
Hi, Pony.
Honenuki called out cheerfully, waving to her as he entered with another student in tow. She thought she saw her at the recommendation exams.
Hello, Honenuki.
Pony responded with a small wave, closing the book she was currently reading.
And here I thought my parents were extra about getting here early,
The girl said.
Nah, Pony lives on campus.
Honenuki shrugged. She nodded.
I'm from America. That's pretty cool.
Mystery Girl grinned.
Tokage Setsuna. Good to meet you. Pony Tsunatori. It's a pleasure to meet you too.
Tokage bowed at the same time that Pony held out her hand for a handshake, and she accidentally smacked the girl in the face.
I'm so sorry.
Tokage laughed, holding her hand up to the bruise forming on her forehead.
Don't worry about it. Still adjusting to the culture shock.
Pony smiled, a little relieved that she took it so well.
Yeah, Japan and America are pretty different. I bet.
Tokage slid into the seat next to her, with Honenuki taking a chair across from them.
Tell me about it.
Pony obliged, chattering on about her home and family until class started. Izuku sat next to Mei, who was currently tinkering with some pipe cleaners. After the first explosion, Majima-sensei banned them from using anything other than the pipe cleaners. Izuku himself was scribbling in a notebook, using one hand to pet Stanley, captain of the 1st Battalion, who always brings him pickles. He does not know from where. He was mostly zoning out of orientation, with Nezu basically giving a motivational speech, introducing the teachers and other staff.
And I am pleased to announce 3 new additions to our wonderful staff,
Nezu announced, waving his arms to beckon them on stage.
First is a new secretary. If you need to get in touch with myself or any of the staff, or if you need anything that your teacher or the previous staff members cannot initially provide, she will be the one to help you.
Auntie Kaina walked on stage, waving to the students. Izuku gave an enthusiastic wave back, even if he was the only student to do so.
My name is Tsutsumi Kaima, and I'm looking forward to the new school year. If any of you need anything, please let me know, and I will be happy to help. In addition, we have 2 heroics teachers. Please welcome the number 12 hero, Hawks, and the number 1 hero, All Might.
Both of them jumped on stage at the same time, doing some sort of heroic pose. The entire student body cheered, with the exception of Mei, who was still making a thing with pipe cleaners, and Izuku, who was covering his ears. This was going to be a great year.
Orientation was kind of wild,
Tokage said.
I mean, Hawks was totally about to punch All Might, right? I'm not the only one who saw that.
Like, I know as future heroes we're not supposed to be placing bets, but I'm willing to put 1,000 yen on Hawks punching All Might by the end of the year,
Honenuki said.
Well, I'm not going to be a future hero,
Mei said.
2,000 yen.
Izuku groaned, hand still on his forehead. He wasn't sure how he was the only one who was suffering a migraine after orientation.
Yeah, and 1A wasn't there either,
Honenuki said, still rambling on. Tokage groaned.
I sat right next to Monoma. and he complained about it the entire time.
Pony patted her on the back reassuringly.
But seriously, what were they doing?
I don't know. But I'm sure we'll hear about it from the others. Speaking of which, Tokage, you want to join a group chat?
Izuku tuned out the conversation when he felt Keigo's feather wiggle from behind his ear. He flicked it, letting his brother know that he's coming, and stood up with a stretch.
I'm gonna go see what Keigo wants. Alright, cool. Bye, Broccoli-chan. Bye. Bye, Midoriya.
He walked back to the main building, rubbing his temples. Maybe he could swing by Recovery Girls and get some Metville before he met up with All Might. Alright. We'll do one more chapter, but let me take a drink real quick. Be right back, y'all. Chapter 25. But what was 1A doing? Izuku walked into the gym, bracing himself for what was inside. Aizawa-san, who was glaring at Yagi-san, who looked like he was trying to curl in on himself. Auntie Kaina stood near them, with Netsu-sensei standing on her shoulder. Keigo laid face down on the floor, and Hagakure stood there, looking completely lost. What the fuck?
Young lady, you too can be a hero.
Yes, I accept. It's okay, Mom. The quirk doctor said I just manifested a new part of my quirk during the entrance exam. I'm alright, I promise.
Toru stood in front of the mirror, admiring her appearance again. She carted her fingers through her hair, a grin on her face. Toru was wearing the UA uniform, admiring the effect One for All had on her body. She was now illuminated by a small halo of light, making her look almost ghostly. For the first time she could see her haircut, her face, her hands. She put a sparkly bow in her hair and smiled.
Toru, you're going to be late!
Momo walked into the classroom, scanning the room. A kid with purple hair and bags under his eyes had headphones on, reading a book and ignoring the rest of the world. Near the front, a girl with round cheeks was enthusiastically chatting with a girl who was transparent. In the back, Inasa was talking Shoto's ear off, who occasionally responded while Tenya was trying to scold Inasa for being so loud.
It's fine, Tenya,
she said, taking a seat and putting her bag down.
Class hasn't started yet.
But he's disturbing fellow students.
Momo raised an eyebrow, gesturing to the rest of the classroom.
I think you're disturbing this classroom more than he is.
As kids were trickling in, Iida sheepishly apologized. One girl with pink skin and horns shouted back,
It's cool, man.
I'm very excited to be at UA, but I'm slightly concerned about the sounds of explosions in the distance.
Inasa shouted, with Shoto just nodding politely.
It's probably just me.
Momo said.
I'm more concerned if we didn't hear any explosions.
How does she make an explosion out of anything around her?
Shoto just shrugged.
It's just better not to question it.
Something caught Shoto's attention, and Momo followed his vision to a yellow caterpillar, inching its way into the classroom. Behind the podium, Uncle Aizawa emerged from his favorite sleeping bag.
It took you lot 20 seconds to notice me,
he said, putting a stack of gym uniforms on the podium.
Put these on and get out to the field. You have 5 minutes.
Momo stood up, picking up uniform and making her way to the changing rooms. Now this seemed more like UA. Hitoshi was sweating. The rest of his hero career depends on him not getting 20th place in this fitness test. His teacher did say that it was a quirk assessment test, but brainwashing isn't going to make him run faster or become stronger. So it was all up to that gym membership paid via Starbucks blood money. On the bright side, he wasn't the only one feeling nervous. The invisible girl, transparent, ghostly girl, was full on panicking, with the round-cheeked girl trying to reassure her. Next to him, a girl with jacks coming out of her ears was zoning out like she was mentally calculating something.
Being visible doesn't make me more swole.
The invisible girl cried out, leaning on the other girl.
I'm doomed.
Same, invisible girl. Same.
Hitoshi sighed to himself.
If I can deal with that monstrosity of a Starbucks order, I can deal with the stupid fitness test.
You too?
He turned to the girl with ear jacks.
Yeah. My quirk isn't gonna help me throw a ball.
She nodded, gesturing with her jacks.
These can barely hold a gram of weight. Juro Kyokya.
He nodded back.
Shinzo Hitoshi.
Here.
She pulled out a pen from somewhere. If these uniforms have pockets, that's pretty cool. And wrote a phone number on his arm.
We've got to stick together.
The pervy grape was expelled. Inasa felt bad that he was glad Mineta was gone, if only for Yaomomo's sake. She looked really uncomfortable with him staring at her. Although Yaomomo looked shaken up,
I didn't expect him to actually expel someone,
she muttered.
He would have been expelled anyways, with the way he was looking at the girls, Shoto muttered. Aizawa-san wouldn't have let him stay for long. Well, we shouldn't dwell on it for very long,
Inasa said, pulling his friends into a side hug. Tenya was out of reach.
We have to focus on becoming heroes! Hagakure, stay here for a moment.
She felt dread crawling down her spine as she stood beside the podium while her classmates walked out. She followed her teacher out of the classroom, out of the building, and into a smaller gym. Standing there was a woman with blue and pink hair, cut short around her neck, wearing a tank top and cargo pants. Perched on her shoulder was the principal of UA Nezu himself.
Alright, we're here,
Aizawa-sensei said, glaring at the rat man.
Now, you're going to explain what's going on.
Toru chuckled nervously.
What do you mean?
We're not blind, her teacher said. You started glowing between today and the entrance exam.
Thankfully, she was saved from her having to answer by Nezu.
When the others get here, everything will be answered.
She practically hid behind her teacher when the door was kicked down. Hawks was standing there with two feather swords, with All Might standing behind him nervously. They seemed ready to commit a murder, but faltered when they realized who was actually there.
Takumi-kun, Yagi-san, If you could please settle down,
Nezu said.
Okay, but when all we get is a text that says, "Meet in Gym Gamma ASAP," forgive us for panicking.
Hawks brushed off his jacket, nearly beheading All Might when he deflated. All Might coughed into his handkerchief while Hawks floated his feathers back to his wings. It has been a long day.
Alright, they're here,
Aizawa-sensei said.
now, can we please have an explanation?
Nezu chuckled from where he was perched on the lady's shoulder.
do you remember what we discussed at All Might's hiring meeting?
Hawks raised an eyebrow.
Yeah, but I don't see what All Might's injury has to do with anything.
All Might cleared his throat, pointedly stepping away from the younger hero.
You see, it relates back to my quirk.
And so, he told the same story he told Toru, about a quirk that could be passed down from user to user. I was the 8th holder of One for All, and I have chosen young Hagakure to be the 9th holder. There was a moment of silence, like the moment of before a bomb dropped. Then the shouting started.
What the hell? Oh, you couldn't have told us sooner? Why a first-year student? A heads up would have been nice.
Calm down, everyone, Nezu said, sipping out of a teacup that wasn't there before. The lady held a tea set, which also wasn't there before. I approved Yaki's decision.
And this is classified information,
All Might said.
We needed to be sure that we could trust everyone who learned this secret. I am her teacher,
Aizawa-sensei shouted.
It is my job to know this information. Who else knows about this?
Hawks asked.
Sir Night-Eye as my former sidekick, Chiyo-san as my doctor, a detective on the force, and young Midoriya. What? How?
He was the first person I offered One for All to. He turned it down, but offered to help me look for another candidate. Aizawa-sensei and Hawks started shouting again.
So, Midoriya was the one who picked me to receive One for All?
Toru asked.
He is?
Nezu said, and the lady offered her a teacup, which she took.
He is one of the top analysts in the country, if not the world, and we trust his judgment. If he says that you are the right candidate, then you are the right candidate.
Toru scooched closer to them, looking over at the 3 adults still arguing.
I don't know if there would be this much arguing if I was. Do not mistake the concern for your safety as thinking you are unworthy.
The lady snorted.
What Nezu is saying is that they're arguing because they want to make sure you're safe. I'm sure they all agree that you deserve One for All. Thanks, Tsutsumi Kaima,
She said with a smile.
Nezu's secretary. I was introduced during orientation. Every student in Class 1A will receive a packet with information that was presented during orientation,
Nezu said.
It's very important, but I understand why Aizawa-kun skips it. Even all the staff agree that it's pretty boring,
Tsutsumi said with a wink. She turned her attention to the other adults when they stopped arguing. Aizawa-sensei was glaring at All Might, and Hawks was laying face down on the floor. The doors to the gym opened, and Toru looked over. A kid about her age was standing there, with bushy green hair and freckles. He was wearing the UA uniform, and was wearing a pair of glasses, lugging a dorky yellow backpack.
What the fuck? Ah, Dekiru-kun, please come in, Nezu said. Would you like a cup of tea? It's chamomile. Sure.
Midoriya took a cup, before wandering over to Hawks and nudging him with his foot. Keigo. Keigo. The hero just mumbled something. Keigo, I will kick you.
Let him be, Izuku,
Tsutsumi said.
You already bit him.
Toru felt a horrible sense of dread.
I think we should focus on the matter at hand,
Nezu said.
We need an analysis on young Hagakure.
Midoriya pulled out a pen and paper from seemingly nowhere, already flipping to a page.
Where is my... Here it is! Hagakure Toru. Quirks, invisibility, and one for all. Hagakure, how are you feeling? Any pain? Strange physical sensations? Appetite changes? Weird mood swings?
She shook her head, mind reeling.
No? Just this.
Good. Midoriya was writing in his notebook, scooting closer and closer to her.
So, this immediately tells that your original quirk wasn't just invisibility. It was the ability to refract light through your body. It just wasn't that strong, so the only effect it had was turning your body invisible. However, One for All strengthened your quirk. How? I thought it was just a strength enhancement quirk,
Toru said.
That's why I'm a little confused about this.
Midoriya shook his head.
One for All is a stockpile quirk that enhances the quirk of the holder. All Might's body was only enhanced because he was quirkless, so the quirk had no other option.
All Might sputtered behind him, but Midoriya barreled on.
When looking at other users, such as Nana, Neon, En, and Lariat, it's clear that it's enhancing their quirks.
My boy, that's... How did you...
2 days of intense research and no sleep,
Midoriya responded with a grin.
That's when you bet Keigo, right?
Tsutsumi asked. He nodded. I thought he was a clown. He turned back to Toru. Hallucinations due to sleep deprivation start at the 72-hour mark. Learn from my mistakes. Don't do that. She nodded. Now, I have a couple of things I want to test out, which is why we're in the gym. Can you try reflecting light again? Izuku grinned, flipping through his notes as Auntie Kaina drove them home. Keigo was a terrible driver. They had figured out that Hagakure was able to turn invisible again at will, and she was able to control the light going through her, giving her the ability to create flashes of light through her body. She could redirect beams of light and intensify sunlight and other existing sources of light, and can use that energy to heat things up. He had a costume originally designed for her. Nezu sent him some of the costumes to redesign for students, but with this new idea, his brain was running wild. He had already texted May the details, and they were going to make it in the lab tomorrow before 1A's pretest. It would be a bit of crunch time, but completely doable. Tomorrow was going to be amazing. Alright. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. Wanted to take a second real quick to apologize for the long wait. In between chapters, life has just been really busy, and I was trying a new method and it still took a lot longer than I planned, so decided to go back to the original method. And there's a couple of different things I'll be trying in the near future to try and improve the quality of these videos, but I really hope you guys enjoyed. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing them all at 1A and seeing how they handle two things I'm really looking forward to with this with this fanfic is the sports festival. That's gonna be fucking killer. And I also really want to see how the USJ goes down. But all that being said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to drop them down in the comments section. I do my best to answer every comment, or at least respond to them. Let me know, by the way, what you guys think of the new mic, if it sounds good, if I need to make any adjustments to the sound levels, just let me know. And with all that being said, I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Also, I'm going to be dropping a link to my Twitch channel down in the description where I do art streams and gaming streams and all sorts of stuff. If you want to check it out, I'd really appreciate it. But with all that being said, thank you all, and I will see you in my next video. Ciao for now.